to call order and open the Sparks Planning Commission meeting for March 7th. Roll call.
Roll call. Commissioner Bowles?
Here.
Commissioner Sperber?
Here.
Commissioner Nowicki?
Here.
Commissioner Lean?
Here.
Commissioner Sanders? Here. Commissioner Hewens?
Here.
Commissioner Camerota?
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Doug Thornley?
Here.
City Planner Armando Ornelas.
Here. Okay, next item is public comments. Anybody from the public, any action that's general comments or specific to an item, although when we do get specific item, if you want to, you can speak on the item.
I'll speak at public comment first.
Oh, welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Don Young, and I just wanted to say what a nice project Legends started out as, and now it's even developing into something better. I love the fact that I can only have to gas up my cars every several months. Because I walk the marina daily, I wanted the developer and especially the operators of the hotel to understand a couple of things. A year or two ago, the freeway surface had deteriorated to the point that two people could not converse while walking the south side of the marina. NDOT resurfaced the freeway, and the difference was great. After that, they put up a Jersey barrier from Sparks Boulevard to almost the dog park. The level of highway noise was probably reduced in that area by 80%. I would like to see the developer work with the city to get NDOT to construct a low Jersey barrier along the rest of the marina. I worked with Tony Armstrong for over 20 years and respected him not enough to ask for more, except for one thing that I think he would support. I would like to see the developer ask the city for an ordinance preventing decompression braking within the city limits. A triple can use its Jake brake for a full half a mile coming into town. Thank you. But in addition, for item number 4, would you consider asking for a show of hands as to who is here for item number 8 or 9? Those in the majority would appreciate your consideration in taking that item first. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's close that. Now approval of the agenda.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, vote.
Yeah. All those in favor?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next is approval of the minutes. Minutes of January 17th.
Move to approve as submitted.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, announcements and committee reports.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to announce that the next meeting of the Planning Commission will be on April 4th.
Right.
Okay. So we will have a meeting on the date, but not on March 21st.
All right. Okay. All right, next item is informational item, presentation of the 2035 Regional Transportation Plan. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Sparks Planning Commission. My name is Lee Gibson. I'm the Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Commission. I have with me today Amy Cummings. She's our Director of Planning. What we're going to do tonight is provide you a brief overview of the draft Regional Transportation Plan, talk about its goals, objectives, some of the projects, and some of the directions that this plan is laying out. Before we do that, though, I would like to just take a moment and mention, for the record, a number of outreach events. These are outreach events that are related not only to our regional transportation plan, but also to some major significant projects that are part of the plan, but are also moving through the project development process. First, on March 14th, we will have a draft Regional Transportation Plan open house at the Discovery Museum from 4:30 to 6:30. I think Amy has already provided you with a copy of that
Yes.
flyer, and we certainly would welcome you coming out to that event. On March 19th, the Pyramid McCarran Intersection Improvement Project draft environmental impact statement public hearing will be held at John Esquaga's Nugget from 4 to 7 p.m. This is a formal hearing that will be conducted in cooperation with RTC and the Nevada Department of Transportation. As Amy's going to point out in her presentation, this is a centerpiece of the Regional Transportation Plan. We would encourage you all to come out to this public hearing. This is a major investment for the Sparks community. It's a project we're all very pleased with, very happy to see it underway. On March 21st, we will have the Southeast Connector Community Working Group meeting over at the offices of the Associated General Contractors. That will begin at 5:30 p.m. On March 26th, the Geiger Grade Realignment Project open house will be held at the Galena High School from 4 to 7, and then we'll also have a Southeast Connector open house at the Best Western Airport Plaza from 5 to 7:30 p.m. All of these are projects that are in this plan. All of these are projects that I know have a direct relationship to the transportation issues facing Sparks, and we would hope that you all would come out for that. So with that, what I'd like to do is let Amy step back a little bit from some of these project issues, lay out the plan, come back to some of the projects, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank
Amy?
you.
Thank you. Amy Cummings with RTC. And I wanted to first of all let you know that we're in the middle of the public comment period for the draft RTP. It's available on our website at yourwashortp.com. And our public comment period goes through April 19th. And that's the day we're going to have a public hearing at the RTC board meeting on April 19th. So I encourage everyone to take a look at that and send us your comments and suggestions, and we will address those in the RTP. And what you see here are the guiding principles of the RTP that were developed through our first community planning workshop held about a year ago. So we're focusing on safe and healthy communities, economic development, sustainability, and providing more travel choices. We've done a lot of community outreach. You may remember we were here earlier last summer as we were asking for ideas for projects to consider in the plan. We've had several roundtables focused on specific issues. We've had several community workshops, and we've been working very closely with the staff here at City of Sparks. We have 4 programs that we're recommending annual funding for. One is for spot improvements on sidewalk accessibility upgrades, so that's sidewalks and crosswalks, to implement our ADA transition plan, as well as annual funding to implement our bicycle and pedestrian plan, the preventive maintenance program, which keeps roads in good condition, and upgrading our traffic signals throughout the region through our ITS master plan. We identified a vision for public transit, and I want to distinguish between the long-range vision of what we heard from the community that people would like to see, and then in a couple slides I'll talk about what we can actually fund, because there is a disconnect between those two. For Rapid, this is something I'm sure you're all familiar with, the service on Virginia Street. And what we heard from people is that they would like that to extend on Virginia Street from the University of Nevada down to the Summit, and then on 4th Prater from 4th Street Station east to Centennial Plaza, and then to Legends. So that's the long-term vision. What we were able to demonstrate we can fund within the life of this plan is the extension to UNR, so only a very small piece of it. But we wanted to get that in the plan and document that as a long-range goal. One of the other key issues that has come up is transit service for some of our outlying neighborhoods, where people identified to us that they would like to have more transit and they feel a little bit isolated in some of those neighborhoods. What you see here is our existing ride network, with the red being the highest ridership routes, and then the blue circles or the green circles are the areas that people identified to us they would like to have service. And in our estimation, it would be an additional $21 million per year to operate ride service in all of those areas. What we are able to move forward with, and this is something that the RTC board is going to be considering over these next couple of months, is an extension to the Galleria on Pyramid and the extension of Rapid to UNR, but there really are not any additional expansions of the system that we can afford at this time. We are moving forward with some of the roadway projects, the 4th Street Prater Way livability project, which is focused not on roadway capacity, but on widening sidewalks and adding bicycle lanes. And the same with Audi Boulevard, adding bicycle facilities and sidewalks and some landscaping in that corridor. And as we mentioned, we're moving forward with the Pyramid-McCarran intersection project, and that's something that is happening in the next few years. The environmental impact statement EIS public hearing is coming up, so we hope everyone can join us for that. Moving forward with Southeast Connector, and these are the major connectivity projects for the region. And again, our website is yourwashortp.com. We feel this is a package that supports quality of life investments through a range of operations and capacity and multimodal improvements. And these are more of the details on the open house coming up next Thursday and the public hearing on the 19th. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I just want to emphasize, one of the challenges we're facing with public transit is, as Amy outlined, we see a growing demand for public transit, but we also have to face the financial realities of just not enough money. One of the other constraints we have that is affecting us is our fixed facilities. Right now, the maintenance facility we have under the Villanova Bridge, or under the 395 Bridge at Villanova, cannot handle alternative fuels. The cost to replace that facility would be somewhere around $80 to $90 million. That would give us the ability to, one, store more buses, two, handle alternative fuels such as compressed natural gas, and be able to expand the system. So to get to a long-term expansion to address one of the unfunded needs of the plan is going to involve replacing that facility. Other facilities that we may see in the plan or in the unfunded needs of the plan include a new transfer facility down near Meadowwood Mall, perhaps a future transfer facility at the Summit, Sierra Summit, and also looking at maybe additional storage capacity for paratransit services. So we have a number of significant capital funding needs that are going to need to be dealt with in order for us to deal with our long-term needs. With the population of seniors being the fastest growing cohort of our population, that's going to make that particular component of the plan, along with the livability component in the Complete Streets program, a critical element for us to address. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Yeah. When, Amy, you said that you are going to expand the services out to Galleria.
That is going to the RTC board. They're going to be discussing that as a service change option at their next board meeting Friday of next week.
And if it is okay, do you know when it would take effect?
July of this
It
year.
would be part of the new service schedule that would go into effect July 1.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, I know, real quick, I know, and I've asked you before on the Pyramid-McCarran, the new, whatever we're going to be doing there, hopefully. But are we going to take homes, or is it going to be on the west side or the east side?
The footprint,
To expand it.
Mr. Chairman, the footprint for that project calls for us to expand to the east. There's approximately 75 residential homes that would be taken. And this will allow us to put in the left turn lanes, triple left turn, and also put in the free right. And so most of the expansions, all of the expansions will be towards east. The businesses and the church will be left alone.
Okay.
And the idea there is to obviously keep the jobs and keep the employment in place. We also will be doing a number of mitigation measures for those that remain behind. And those would include some landscaping and aesthetic improvements. One final point I just want to make, I want to remind everybody, and we'll be talking about this at the open house, the relocation packages for relocated home residents is a functional requirement-based program. That means we've got to take free and clear title of the land. We've got to take care of any underwater mortgages. We have to deal with the relocation cost. We have to put you fundamentally in the same type of housing unit that you live in today if you're a relocatee, and that means you're made whole. So we want to make sure everyone understands we don't come in and leave people high and dry. That's not what the law calls for. It calls for putting people in homes that are like the homes they're leaving behind. So,
Very good, thank you.
Other questions? I've got a question. From time to time, Planning Commission is questioned on impact of roads by the projects we review quite often. Can you please give us an overview of the relationship between the plan that you just discussed and impact fees?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I'll let Amy jump in. This new plan will help us generate what's called a new transportation improvement program. That transportation improvement program will form the basis for the capital improvements program that we will use to help administer the regional road impact fee program. That CIP will be the basis from which Projects could be selected by developers if they choose to do what's called a capital contribution front-end agreement. It will also be the basis from which we will develop the cost to calculate the fees that would then be applied to any applications that will come in, and any fees that need to be collected if they choose not to do the CCFEA. The other important point I want to make is, and we have a consultant right now who is going through a process. Your staff is helping us out with that. We're going to look at the possibility of tiered fees. That is, if you are closer in town, if you have more infrastructure around you, perhaps the fees would be lower. If you're further out, the fees would be higher. And we're also going to be looking at taking all of that, bringing that back to you as part of an amendment to the ordinance that administers the RIF, and then having you see that in that whole comprehensive package. So with respect to the RIF and the Regional Transportation Plan, we're going to make a tighter connection, and we're also going to be bringing those connections back to you as part of that ordinance.
Okay. No other question?
Yeah. Amy, last time we were here, you were talking about a bike share program in Sparks, and in Reno, and just as a plan. Do you have any updates on that?
We are still working with NDOT and the City of Sparks to get that going and get all of our paperwork in order with NDOT. We do have the funding set aside for the purchase of the equipment.
All right. No more questions?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I want to thank your staff. They've been a great help, not only in helping put together the RTP, but also helping to put together the RIF program.
And we're going to keep them.
Please.
Yeah, we like them too.
They're these guys over here are just great assets for us. So we really appreciate all their hard work, and we appreciate their just thoughtfulness.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome. All right, I guess next item, we're going to public hearing time now. First item is CA 512, City of Sparks, staff presentation.
Jim Rundle, Senior Planner, here to present CA 512, a request for a code amendment sponsored by the City of Sparks. Adult care facilities are permitted by right in numerous districts in the city, most of which are single-family residential. Currently, adult care facilities do not permit for more than 5 people receiving care in those residences. That use was added in 1990 by a code amendment to the municipal code. The city has been permitting the adult care facilities since. Not only does the zoning code apply when utilizing adult care facilities as a use, but the building and fire codes come into play. It is in the building and fire codes where you find a limitation to 5 residents receiving care. Now, the building and fire codes can permit more than 5 people, but it essentially requires residential fire sprinklers, which is why I believe the limitation of 5 was put into the zoning code. Staff is proposing to simply remove the limitation of 5 residents for an adult care facility from the municipal code to where it's permitted currently. An applicant wishing to provide residential care within their home has to require licensing through the state of Nevada. The state does not limit the number of people that a homeowner can provide care for. As this use is regulated through the state of Nevada, the state fire marshal becomes involved in the process. Currently, the state fire marshal contacts the City of Sparks fire marshal to coordinate inspections for those uses going on in the City of Sparks. Applicants who would wish to, or currently wish to conduct adult care facilities or residential care in their home are required to get a business license through the City of Sparks. This would still be the case if the City Council and Planning Commission ultimately recommend approval on this code amendment. Staff is supporting amending the code to remove the limitation of 5 people receiving adult care, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay, and then questions, point? Okay, it's a public hearing, so let's Let's open the public hearing. Does anyone want to speak on this item? Come down and, I don't know if you filled out the form yet. Give us, if not, we'll get it afterward. And we'll get it afterwards. We just need your name.
Alrighty.
And where you live, and we're looking at 3 minutes.
Okay.
What you'd like saying.
Yes. My name is Diane Stewart. I'm an RN administrator for the Pond House of Nevada, which is a residential care facility here in Sparks. We're located at 1550 Furman Court, which is over close to Whitehead School. We've been in that facility for 6 years. We came to Sparks, opened up that facility because of my mother-in-law. And anyway, we came to the Planning Commission to request the beds be increased. This is a 3,600 square foot home. Has 2 living areas, 4 bathrooms, 6 bedrooms, and it is on almost a half acre. We have plenty of room there, and we would like to provide services to more residents within our area. But right now we are limited because of the 5-bed rule. So that is the reason why I have come to the council to request an increase in beds and to ask for your assistance. I don't live in the facility anymore. We did when my mother-in-law was there. My home currently is up in the Vistas. So we own 2 homes in Sparks, and we love it here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any more public? Okay, well, let's, thank you very much. Let's close the public, bring it back to the table. Any questions?
I have a question. On the study session on Tuesday, I was a little confused. The issue that the applicant here spoke about, and presumably all applicants will have the same issue, that's moving beyond 5 requires a sprinkler system. Is that correct?
Yes.
I don't think you made reference to that, but it requires a sprinkler system that's approved by both local and state requirements. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Specifically, again, with the sprinkler system is under state law, right?
Well,
Already in there?
Actually, the state, or excuse me, the sprinkler requirement comes under the building and fire codes.
Oh, okay.
So the International Building Code
Right.
and the Fire Code, essentially you're changing occupancy is what occurs. And so the occupancy change requires almost like a commercial use, and that's
Right.
why you have to have the fire sprinklers.
Sure.
Is there a limit for coverage of the sprinkler system? If someone goes to 10, and then if they go for 20, do they have to enhance their sprinkler system again?
I don't believe so. And of course, the appropriate person to answer that would be the fire marshal or the building official, but we've coordinated with them throughout this code amendment process up to this point, and I don't believe that you have to upgrade the fire sprinklers. Essentially, when you put them in, they have to be able to provide the amount of pressure that a fire sprinkler system would have to cover for that residence or for that building.
But presumably, if someone wanted to expand again with a number of rooms, they'd have to go back and meet the test again?
If the question is, if you have a 4-bedroom house and you'd like to add 2 bedrooms, of course, you'd have to come in and get a new building permit to do that.
Right.
And at that time, the building permit's going to be reviewed for the addition of the two bedrooms, electrical, plumbing, and water flow rates essentially are going to be reviewed at that time to ensure that those rooms could be utilized as well. And again, they have to get a business license. Fire inspections occur essentially yearly, and so they're going to go out if they find that someone's doing residential care in a room that doesn't have fire sprinklers. They're going to be red tagged, if you will.
And I think there is reference at the bottom of page 2 there to some requirements of being able to exit the facility in a timely manner when you have more than 10. That's a state requirement, I'm assuming.
Yes, that's it's in the Nevada revised statutes on evacuation of a adult care facility or residential care facility.
Any other questions?
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council of the code amendment associated with CA-5-12.
Second?
Okay, we have a first in 2 seconds. Any other discussion for the vote? No? Hearing none, okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstaining? All right, so that's passed. Thank you, Jim. All right, our next item is PCN 12022.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, Planning Commissioners. For the record, Tim Thompson, Senior Planner. This is a special use permit request from Olympia Gaming to allow for a resort hotel casino at the Legends at Sparks Marina Plan Development. The Plan Development Handbook allows non-restricted gaming and hotels or motels in excess of 150 rooms that requires a special use permit. And this is a resort hotel casino with meeting the minimum 201 rooms in order to qualify for a non-restricted gaming license. It's important to point out that the Legends at Sparks Marina handbook is the governing document, the ordinance that governs the development of the site. That is essentially the entitlement. That entitlement gives the ability to conduct both of these uses through an approved special use permit process. The special use permit process is to look at project-specific impacts, and that's the purpose of the special use permit request. In this particular case, lost my train of thought.
That's quite all right. Yeah.
So in this particular case, I'm going to throw this up on the overhead. This is actually an amendment to the previously approved special use permit. Staff believed that north is facing up. Obviously, we see the marina here. We see the prior, it was a single hotel. The casino function is over here. And this access road came up to this, I guess it's this intersection here, and it was a through movement out to Lincoln Way. The new proposal altered the road such that it comes north and then makes a 90-degree turn back to that intersection. Staff believed that was enough of a significant change to look at the impacts of that and requested and required this special use permit. This, what you see on the overhead is the proposed phase 1 of the project. Essentially, they're looking at 2 separate hotels with a total room count of 201 rooms. One, I think, has 101, the other 100 rooms. Both hotels are slated to be 4 stories. Previously, you may recall that there was a hotel tower that was anticipated that could have been in excess or close to 400 feet. That is not called for in this particular plan. This would be a potential phase 2 to the project, which essentially adds some additional casino space, additional gaming area, and back of house. This special use permit would cover any expansions up to that proposed square footage, as staff did not believe that that impacted any of our analysis. So this special use permit approves up to that. Any expansion would require a site plan review. And then ultimately, the developer is hopeful that the project is successful and that they can add on future phases. You'll see a hotel tower here, which has been significantly reduced in height to what we've seen previously at this project. We have the parking structure here. That is not a part of this approval. To get to anything beyond Phase 2 is going to require an amendment to this special use permit so that at that point in time, we can look at the impacts of this project. The concern being that approving this project in its entirety, and as time goes on, 10 possibly years down the road, to have the ability to do that and not have the opportunity to look at the impacts and mitigate any impacts that may be associated with the development at that time. There's no height limit in the Legends Handbook. However, there is a minimum 75-foot setback between the hotels and any residential unit, and they will have to meet that requirement. I think another thing to point out is if we look at this plan, there was some concern over the impact of anything on the Legends property impacting any of the residences. And you can see Mr. Dahl's house out here at the end of the cul-de-sac is really in between the two hotels, and then the only other home that would be impacted or significantly impacted would be this property here. As with any of the buildings in Legends, the elevations are required to come before the Planning Commission as a general business item. We don't have elevations to show you. There were some conceptual plans that were included in your packet to give you an idea of what to anticipate. Another concern that staff had was the boardwalk. We're requiring that the boardwalk be substantially completed prior to the issuance of the C of O for any portion of this project. Of particular concern is the two property owners, Olympia and Red Development, working together to coordinate the improvements along the marina and to maintain that continuity and that connection of the marina path. The traffic analysis was, when this project came in, it was deemed deficient because of the traffic analysis. The developer worked very closely, or the applicant worked very closely with Red Development on a cohesive traffic analysis that addresses the project in its entirety. That traffic analysis concluded that there needed to be some type of control at the intersection of Legends Bay Drive and George Ferris. Staff has conditioned that the applicant construct a roundabout at that particular location. The traffic analysis showed that a four-way stop was sufficient. However, staff was concerned about there being an issue down the road where that intersection would warrant a traffic signal and then being responsible for the traffic signal. And so our belief is that with the roundabout, there won't be a need down the road for a traffic signal. A traffic signal could cost in the range of $100,000 to $250,000, and the city did not want to have to bear that cost, and so the roundabout was the chosen alternative, and so the requirement is that a roundabout be constructed. The site plan in your packet shows the diagram of that roundabout. And staff is requiring that the right-of-way be acquired and that we see plans for that prior to issuing any building permit for this project, and then that it be completed before C of O. With that, Staff is recommending approval of the project, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Do you want to ask questions?
I'll ask a question now, and then we can come back to it later. More out of curiosity than anything, what we have ended up with here is essentially 3 separate buildings, 2 hotels and a casino, which are separated by a fair amount of space and with no logical way, necessarily no walkway or no connection in the building. How far, just theoretically, how far apart could facilities be and still meet the requirements of having the hotel and the casino together, being approved together? I mean, they're being approved together, but they're obviously 3 separate facilities, a good deal apart. Could it be, if it were on contiguous land, could it be half a mile apart and still meet that requirement?
I don't know the answer to that question. What I can say is the handbook requires a resort hotel casino. And by definition, state law definition, a resort hotel casino has certain requirements. One being 201 hotel rooms, a 24-hour restaurant, a bar that seats a certain number of patrons in order to qualify for that non-restricted gaming license. The previous special use permit staff was concerned about this very issue, the separation between, at least in the initial phase, the separation between the hotel rooms and the gaming component. They will be connected by pedestrian walkways, albeit crosswalked across the street, and I think the applicant intends on a covered walkway to get patrons into the casino. But the state law definition says something to the effect of a building or number of buildings that are within proximity of one another.
Whatever that means.
And so, the applicant may have a better answer. They may have a better understanding of how the Gaming Control Board would treat this particular case. But to answer specifically your question, I don't have the answer.
Perhaps we can ask the applicant.
Right. All right, so then what do we do at that point? Open it to public. Let's call on the applicant.
Good evening. For the record, Mike Raley with Rubicon Design Group here on behalf of Olympia Gaming. Also with me tonight are DC Graham and Mark Bulldog from Olympia Gaming and Peter Wilday, the project architect. I'd like to thank staff. I think Tim did a great job reviewing the project. We essentially see this as a time extension to our existing permit. Granted, there are a few minor changes. But we think overall it's a very similar project to what was approved before, and it allows us a little bit more time to get moving on things. We are in agreement with all the conditions on the project, and we've worked closely with staff to develop those, especially and keep a lot of the existing conditions. I know Mr. Dahl is here, was concerned that the wall remained between our property and his, and that all that remains the same. To address your concern regarding the proximity, the way the Gaming Commission state law reads is that the hotel needs to be on the same parcel as the casino. So everything is on the same parcel that we are proposing. So that's our understanding of it, and that's been reviewed previously, and that was the outcome. So
I'm not asking this question to be negative necessarily, but I guess I'm just to set the precedent for some time in the future. Is there a definition of the size of a parcel?
Not that I'm aware of, but
So if we had a parcel that was 5 acres big, theoretically, we could have a hotel on one end and a casino on the other end, and it would meet the definition of the state?
I believe so, but I like I say, would definitely have to confirm that.
Right.
So anyway, we're here tonight to answer any questions you might have, and like I say, we're in agreement with all the conditions.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do. In regards to the initial phase, will the 2 hotels be built first before the casino, or?
They would have to be built concurrently based on the conditions.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 201 rooms would have to be in operation with the first phase of the casino.
And what is the back of house? What is that?
Back at house, and these guys probably, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, is, obviously like the room where you do the money counts, employee.
Not where Louis and Guido go or nothing, huh?
Right. Storage areas, basically storage rooms, employee offices, that
Okay,
sort of thing.
okay.
That's what it is. All right, no more questions. Let's open, like I say, anyone like to speak on this item? And I know you filled out so give us again your name and where you live.
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Don Young. And first of all, kudos to all those that have worked together to produce a project that is more than acceptable. It is a credit to the consultants, architects, engineers, planners, and city staff who seem to have really listened and considered past concerns. I asked the Planning Commission to approve this project, not out of blind obedience to staff, but to a reasoned consideration to all the testimony you hear here. I have only one appealable concern. Finding S1 under policy LU1C states that the conditions of approval will minimize impacts to adjacent properties. That's minimize, not reduce. I do not believe condition 31 does that. Backup bells, diesel engines, and associated construction noise don't just begin with vertical construction. They also begin with in-ground construction. I ask that the Planning Commission amend Condition 31 to state prior to ground disturbing activity rather than vertical construction. If the PC won't do this, I ask the developer to request that condition prior to approval by the Planning Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on it? Back to the table. Questions?
I have one for Don. Don, if I can, if you want to come back up real quick. What was your...
Tom is the only one I remember here. I've done this for many years.
What was your concern about number 31, the condition?
Well, condition 31 states that
It says prior to any vertical or construction, the buffer wall generally located along the western property line shall be completed to the approval of the administrator.
right, and that buffer wall will act as a sound barrier, diesel fume barrier, dust barrier to the homes, which one of my neighbors is here, and the backup bells, things like that, you're going to hear prior to that sound wall going up if this condition is left as stated. And I would like to see some protection for the residents, and that's why I say the condition or the policy that says minimize doesn't say just reduce. And to me, just doing it after you start constructing above ground is just a reduction. It's not a minimization.
Right.
And I feel that that is a real concern to the residents of the neighborhood, and it's something I do feel strongly about.
If I might ask you, when they were constructing Legends and all that construction there that's there now, they had backup bells and diesel and all that doing the roads, correct?
Yes, they did.
And how did that affect you then?
It was noticeable. It was farther away. This is going to be right across the street. right across Harbor Cove Drive from my residence, from my neighbor's residence, from the Dolls. There are a number of people who would be adversely impacted if we allow Condition 31 to stand.
Well, one good thing about this project, you're not going to have any huge shadow casted on your home.
That's why I say I am in favor of this project, and as Tom knows, I appealed and actually filed suit against the city. I feel that we have a very supportable project here. I'm very much in favor of it. I know almost all of my neighbors are. And I'm just looking for a little consideration for what our concerns might be so that you're not hearing of this in the future.
Okay.
Thank you, Don.
Can we hear from the applicant? You want to comment on this?
Once again, Mike Raley with Rubicon Design Group. We feel that Condition 31 addresses the problem, but if it would make Mr. Young, he feels that would be a benefit to the neighborhood, we have no objection to rewriting the condition as requested.
And of doing, so essentially we're talking the earthwork and
Essentially, yeah, that wall would go up concurrently
Prior.
with, yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. All right.
I've got some questions about the gaming and the business side. Would it be you or would it be the applicant?
Depending on the question, I might defer to somebody
Just
from-
generally, I hold no expertise in gaming. I think your group is to be complimented. You have a very nice website and got some quality projects out there and frequent the Fandango. There's been a downward trend over the last 10 years in Sparks and table games, slots, and overall revenues. How many games, how many slot machines are conceived here?
I will probably defer to DC Graham from Olympia or Mark, one of these guys.
It goes on automatically when you speak, I believe.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
Hello.
There it goes.
Oh, there it is. To answer your question, Phase 1 is approximately 750 slots and 10 table games and potentially a poker room, depending on where the market sits at that point.
Okay. The concern, of course, is that, other places in Sparks are quote-unquote hurting and don't want to be mining from the same pit, so to speak. What will you do that's different in your marketing plan to, attract some new and fresh, faces to that new facility?
Well, the center itself draws quite a bit of business that is not necessarily local. It's more of a regional draw, so there is that aspect that is in place there. The people staying in the hotel would also be out of market, so that would be a source of business.
So that's the concept, that's an out of market.
Those two components in particular make it different, but it's hard to dictate who comes.
Right.
I mean, I wish I had that much control.
Mr. Graham, you guys will do excellent there. I have no doubt.
Thank you very much.
And then in Carson, there was a time lag between the casino and the time that, sorry?
Just the discussion going on.
Yeah, sorry.
So you apparently have some expertise, casino, and then the hotel that recently came on it. There was a time lag there, so is that where you got this concept of, maybe splitting the property, so to speak?
Well, the splitting aspect is different. The way the rules were there, there was no room requirement in that for that project versus as there is here. But that design does work very well for us, having a distance. Yes, we have a considerable portion of rooms coming from the casino that utilize that hotel. We're the largest utilizer of that hotel.
Any more questions?
There's been a couple concerns about the sound wall. How much control does the city have on I-80 on the sound wall from
That would be something we'd
that's
have to
good.
approach NDOT about. I mean, it's essentially NDOT right-of-way, and so it's something that we've had inquiries directed to the mayor and the city manager about in recent weeks. It's certainly something that bears consideration, but frankly, I'm not prepared to speak as to, the possibility of that sound wall being erected.
But it's an NDOT.
It would be an
Yeah.
NDOT issue. It's an NDOT highway.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Somebody like to make a motion here?
Prior to making a motion, if I could make a motion to amend item number 31, that says prior to any vertical construction, if we can just change that to prior to any construction.
Mr. Chairman, you need to close the public hearing before we make any motions.
I'm sorry, let me close the public. Yeah, what you said.
And Mr. Voles, if you like, you can combine these motions.
And add the.
All right, I'm prepared to make a motion. And give me a moment here.
You hit.
I move to approve the special use permit associated with PCN 12022 to allow for a 201-room resort hotel casino, adopting findings S1 through S6, and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report, subject to the conditions of approval of items 1 through 30 as listed in the staff report, and 31 as amended to read prior to any construction, the buffer wall generally located along the western property line shall be completed to the approval of the administrator.
Second.
All right, any other discussion at this point? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, project's approved. Thank
luck.
you. Good luck. A long time again. All right,
That was Harvey Dole, big tall guy.
No one wants to hear about you being nominated to the regional.
not at all, not at all. But I thought it's perfect. Not at all. I thought that was the item everywhere. No, he's part of the project. All right, guys, we want to finish with our meeting, so maybe talk outside. Thank you. Okay, let's go now to general business. Next item is confirmation appointment of Sparks Planning Commissioner Art Sperber to serve on the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission. Can I get a motion?
I'd like to confirm the appointment of Art Spurbert as a member of the Regional Planning Commission.
Second. All right, any discussion here? Let's call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. All right, public comment. Here we are. Anybody who would like to speak on something that doesn't appear an item on our agenda, would you like to speak?
Come on down.
Could you come down?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. But that's okay.
I actually am a student in historic preservation, so I'm here because I met Armando and I am taking a class on preservation planning.
All right. Could you give us your name?
My name is Carolyn
address,
Littlewood.
And then fill out a form.
Okay.
Through.
But in
Welcome.
listening to your meeting, I live in the area where you approved this residential care center.
Right.
Is there a limit to that? So in other words, in this 3,600 square foot home, is she going to take care of 10 people, 15 people, 20 people? Is there a top limit? It just said more than 5.
That's a limit that would be handled through the licensing agency with the state of Nevada.
With the state of Nevada. Yeah. So would they have a limit?
I
Don't
cannot
know.
speak intelligently as to whether or not they would have a limit, but I'm sure that there are standards in place to assure a particular standard of care.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, it was just a concern.
Okay. All right. Next item, comments from the commissioners. Any comments? Oh, can you fill that? Thank you. Any comments?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second.
Let's go. We're through. I got through.
You enjoy.
You
First one's a tough one.